Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pause the video right now to check out my social media, my radio show, and thatdrummerguy.com. And most of all, enjoy the following presentation.
Hello, Josh.
Hey, how's it going?
Mr. Runquist. Good to talk to you. I'm good. And you? How's it today?
I'm doing great. It's awesome to be able to talk to you again and be able to talk about everything that's going on in the world of long-distance calling.
Thank you. So let's dive into it.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, of course, there is a brand new album from you guys, Boundless, which I've been able to check out over the last few weeks, and like I've told you already upon my first listening to it, I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful and stellar album. It feels exactly like the album that you guys wanted to make instead of feeling like there was anything forced about it, and that's what makes it one of the best albums that you guys have done so far.
Thank you very much. I agree, actually. It was very easy to make, I think, in a positive way. It was very unforced, and I think it was the right time to do this instrumental album. So it was a bit difficult to write the last two albums. We left our comfort zone for this, which was good for the songwriting, for learning to improve the songwriting, and I think you can hear it on the new album. But we just felt we want to go back in a room together as four people and just make what we made in the beginning of the band. Just four guys in a room and just jam the hell out of it. And that's what became Boundless in the end.
So when did you know, like in the beginning part of this, how did you know that was the direction that you wanted to go in?
Actually pretty late. We started writing exactly 1 year ago, and shortly before that we had without a Petter because it wasn't available. And it was a festival show in the Netherlands, I think. So we had to do an instrumental show, and it felt so easy and natural that and this was like a first indicator or first feeling that this could be a good route to walk. And when we actually started songwriting in January last year, we felt pretty quickly that it's very easy because you don't have to wait for anything outside the band, like external factors, and we also did all the electronic stuff ourselves on this time. And yes, and after a short time we had a lot of material, and we felt that this is the way to go.
And with that, of course, Boundless is coming out next Friday through InsideOut. How does it feel to finally be able to have this album coming out next week?
Oh man, it's great. So we finished it in summer actually, and we recorded in like August, but with all the machinery behind it, having a label and everything, and preparing a tour in Europe, you have to book a tour like 6 months in advance at least. So everything had to be prepared very carefully, and we really like working on details and small stuff and the video and everything. So it always takes some time if you want to do it well, I think. And now we're really, really happy that the waiting is over. For us as well, like I said, we started writing it exactly 1 year ago. So, and of course for the people now it's very new and fresh, but for us it's already some of the songs are 1 year old. So it's great to have it out there very soon.
Yeah, and it's so fantastic. I mean, like the fact that I've been able to have it for a little bit of time, I mean, it's been awesome to really be able to sit down with the album and really being able to divulge into everything. I mean, with every single long distance calling album, I always do that on my own, and now with being able to be in this position to help promote, especially the last two albums, being able to heavily promote those and just checking out everything that you guys are doing, and just like there's so many great layers that goes into every song of long distance calling, and it's great to hear that full instrumental version of that again. Not to take away from any of the songs that's ever had vocals on there, but I always have a special affinity with the instrumental section of long distance calling, and just hearing a full-blown album of that and just knowing that this was the direction that you guys wanted to go in, it just made for a perfect album.
Thank you. I think it was a big step for us in the end because we thought about it. If we do this now, we do it right, and we do it totally. So there's not even a guest vocal on it. There's no vocal sample, nothing. So there's not a single word on this album, and so we wanted to let the music speak for itself, and that's why you have to take care of the layers and the details, and that you find something new every time you listen to it, especially through headphones. That was very important to us, and I think it's a pretty heavy album, but it's a heavy journey, and I think the heaviness is good to emphasize the emotion of the melodies, and there's also some quiet parts, but the heaviness came just naturally, so this wasn't planned. It just happened, and we just went with the flow, and we said, okay, if it's a heavy album, it's a heavy album. So it was very natural.
Yeah, and that was one way I was starting to look at it with this album is, like, as I've told you before, I discovered you guys with Avoid the Light, and I always have a great appreciation with that album, and there's a lot of aspects of Boundless that really take me back to that Avoid the Light era of long distance calling, with the heavy instrumental sections, the more melodic sections that go in there, the quieter moments on there. But it's a great representation of where you guys are right now writing it in 2017, but now in 2018, just like seeing everything that you guys have done in that amount of time and being able to approach it in a brand new way with Boundless.
Exactly. It was the plan was to have the improved songwriting, which the experience from the last two albums, and transport this to the core of the band, which have been the first three albums. And quite a lot of people are saying that there's a big relation to Avoid the Light, actually, and I agree with it. It has a similar vibe to it, but with the songwriting of 2018, and we improved as musicians. It has a better sound, everything. So I think it's a nice link to the past with one or two steps in the future. And we always, it's important to us that it's contemporary, so and that it shows where we are now. So, but of course, there's a lot of influence from the beginnings of the band, and this was a real interesting aspect for us.
And that takes me to like a great feeling of knowing like the longest song on the album is actually what starts off the album with Out There, which is also made for a fantastic video that you guys have made, just like absolutely amazing visually, and it just matches along so well with the music behind it.
Thank you.
How did that go about wanting to make that the first single?
It just felt like a great introduction to the album, actually, and we didn't take care of what you may do or not may do. It's the longest song, but if it's a great opener, it's a great opener, and if it's 9 minutes, it's 9 minutes, and so we didn't think about it. It just felt right to put it as the first song. And then Janos, our drummer, he came up with the idea of shooting the videos, the video in the Dolomites in Italy. So we went there, and we had a very good time in writing it. And and we did the cover shoot there. We did the photographs there. So everything is one. And this was really important for this album, that everything is linked and connected and consistent. And I think Out There is just everything that long distance calling is.
Yeah, and that is such a great way to be able to describe it too. I mean, everything that I ever loved about the band, sans any vocal elements to it, is represented in that song alone. And being able to see those amazing visuals to go along with it, with the location, the way the camera's shot, all the different colors that are expanded upon when you watch the video. I mean, just like it just feels like a great representation of what long distance calling is all about.
Thank you. Yeah, it was the basic idea, just to finally showcase what we sound like on the visual aspect as well. So I think it's a very good representation of how we sound like. A lot of people say that our music sounds like a journey or a trip, and we just wanted to put that in pictures. And our friend Michael from Iconographic, he was shooting the video and he has a great view and a great sense for pictures. And the color work is a bit more psychedelic and emphasizes like the trip and the different aspects of the song. And if you listen to the song, it has very, very different parts. Like the first part is very heavy and harsh, and the mid part, we called it the Dire Straits part. It has nothing to do with the first half of the song, and then it just grows and grows, and at the end, it reaches the same energy level as the beginning of the song, but with a completely different riff. So, and this was like a challenge for the songwriting, and I think this was also the most difficult song to record, because the mid-section, it has a lot of dynamics. So over 3 or 4 minutes, we get a bit more heavy and louder every now and then, and you have to do it together. So, and that's is pretty challenging. So it was important to us that this part sounds very natural and not faked in the studio or something. So I think we practice this quite a bit. But actually, the writing process for this song was pretty easy. But yeah, it's I think it's my favorite of the record.
And it's funny because when you talk about that, and of course with everything that went into that, having the second single almost kind of be a polar opposite of that in a different way. Just with Sending being able to just be in the same room and just jamming out on the instruments, playing through the song. It's great to see the kind of polar opposite visual feel of that.
Yeah, so we just wanted to do something completely different from the first video, and the song also is very different from out there, even though the ending is pretty typical for us. But Flo came up with this very heavy Mastodon-like riff, and we all liked it, and so we kept it, and this became the second song. And so if you have those two songs after each other, it's a great start for dynamics on the album. And then you have this very quiet song like a river or Weightless. And it's always important to us to have a lot of dynamic and hook lines in the song.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And that's what's always drawn me to the band is with every song, you guys absolutely know where it should be getting heavy, where it should be getting more melodic, where it should be getting more mellow, and just not just in the song, but being able to do that with the track order as well. And that's something I really love about Boundless. I mean, it just feels like a perfect ebb and flow that's going out throughout the entire album. I mean, starting off with an epic like Out There, ending with such an amazing song like Skydivers, and just everything in between there. It feels so perfectly natural with the way that it goes.
It was actually the most difficult thing, I think, to find the song titles and the right order of the songs, because this, I think, if you make an album and not just a collection of songs, it's so important to have the right order, emotionally and in terms of dynamic. So we took quite some time to find the perfect order. So we only knew that Out There would be the opener and that Skydivers would be the last song. But everything in between, like we shifted around quite some times, and then we took much care of the song titles, because in that order, it's also like a journey from the bottom to the mountaintop, to the summit. And so we really wanted that everything makes sense.
And with that, how much harder is it to be able to come up with song titles when there's no lyrics to go around with it? I mean, obviously, when you do have a song that has vocals attached to it, you want the title to match what the lyrics are talking about. But how hard is it when it comes to the instrumental side of it?
It's pretty difficult, because you want to kick off a thought in the head, or you want to paint a picture with one word if possible. So, yeah, it takes some time to find the right word. Like, I think if you don't have words or lyrics and you only have 1 or 2 words to use, you should find them and use them very carefully. So also with the album title, now I think it's the perfect album title, but we had a lot of different ideas, and we never have the album title and the song title until the very end, and we really approaching the deadline, because we always think it could be better. So, and this time it took quite some time, but we're really happy with the results.
Yeah, and I gotta say that Boundless just feels like such a great title to not only describe the album, but I think it also really describes the band too, because with every album, it always has its own different feel to it. I mean, no matter how heavy or instrumental or vocally filled the album is, I mean, you guys are able to adapt to whatever situation you want to make for an album, and it always comes out sounding fantastic, and it really does describe the band. I mean, you guys are Boundless.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we just like to shapeshift a bit and to evolve and develop, and we don't want to do the same album twice. So I think that's important if you want to be alive as a band, and if you want to be interesting, especially for yourself as musicians. It's very important to shapeshift sometimes and go back and forth and see what's right. It can be different in 2 years, and we have been different persons 2 years ago. So it's always like the point of life where you are right now. And this time we felt that we want to let everything in that comes to our mind and that feels right, like a song like a River. Normally, maybe a couple of years back, we would have said, nah, that's too much out there for a band like us. But it's a very nice atmosphere, and it's a place of silence on the album. So we decided to keep it, and it's a completely different color for the album, and it's a completely different color for the discography for us. So, and we always like to try something new and to let ideas in. And if it's good, it's good. Like, I personally don't like only like a certain type of sound or music. If it's good, it's good, and if it's not good, it's not good. So I don't think in genres, and I think that's very important for an experimental band, and that's what we are.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that better. I mean, again, going back into the whole idea of the name Boundless for the album title, I mean, again, it so perfectly describes you guys, because it never feels like you guys have to be stuck into one particular sound or style, and that's so important when it comes into a band that wants to be able to expand upon so many different territories whenever a new album cycle or recording cycle comes up.
I think we just like to not give a fuck. So maybe you have to peep it now, but we really like to surprise ourselves and the fans. So that's a very essential part of the band, and to go left and right of the normal way. And that's what we always also did with touring. Like, we didn't really tour with post-rock bands. We did tour with indie bands or metal bands. So we don't like the easy way. Maybe that's a good description for it.
Yeah, and that takes me back to the last time that we got to do an interview, the fact that you guys were able to tour with one of my favorite bands, Dredge, and to me that's just like a perfect bill. Even though it's two very different styles of music, to me that just makes for a fantastic night of music.
It was really good. It's one of my top 10 all-time bands, and they were really nice. And I think it was with Catch Without Arms tour. And I think the melody aspect, it's a complete different image, and the approach is different. But I think people find, how should I say it, find a similar approach to melodies in both bands. It's very emotional melodies, and I think that's what both bands have in common, maybe.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially when it comes to the instrumentation and sometimes with lyrically as well, too. I mean, both of you are known for some fantastic emotional instrumentals, and of course there's some great heavier songs that come in there with vocals as well. And again, you know, like obviously different approaches on there, but sometimes just some of those sometimes sadder emotions or sometimes more forward-thinking kind of emotions that come through there. I mean, there's a lot of similarities to the band while still having different sounds.
What's important to us is that the song, and that's what we like to do, is evolving from maybe like a sad emotion to something euphoric, or to see some beauty in the dark. So, and that's what we like to transcribe into music. Like, if it's a heavy song or if it's a really dark song, we like to translate it into something euphoric or beautiful at the end. And I think that's a good that's a good feeling for the songwriting, and maybe it's a metaphor for situations in your life, maybe sometimes. So I think that's an interesting thought. So, and also to play with emotions and to evolve and not have the same emotion through the whole song for 9 minutes. I think that it doesn't really work. Like, it's like life, and things are changing, and that's what we want to show with the music as well.
And speaking of that, what are the current plans for the band right now as far as live shows?
We have a sold-out release show, and then we have from end of February to mid-March. We have the first leg of the Boundless tour. We're currently working on festivals, and we're also currently booking the next tour for fall. So I think we will be pretty busy. We want to play as much as we can with this album, and as much as it makes sense. Because it's important that it's fun. So it doesn't make sense to play any possible show. It should make sense in the right environment for us. That's important. But under these terms, we want to play as much as possible.
So for anyone that's checking you out for the first time, or anyone that's coming to see you for whatever amount of times, what should people expect from this upcoming touring cycle from you guys?
Expect a very atmospheric and heavy show, also a bit euphoric. Like, I think we're not a shoegaze band. We like to pose, and we like to play hard, and we like to interact with the audience. It's just we like to have a good time together with the audience, even though there's some sad melodies or something. But it's just it's a nice experience to have together with the band and the fans, and to celebrate life in a way. And this doesn't need to be with very superficial music or happy music. I think this can also work with some dark and heavy music.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, sadly, without the chance of being able to see you guys live yet, I always imagine how it would sound in a live setting, and I just imagine so many great different emotions being shown off there, like some of the more emotional moments in Long Distance Calling being able to exfoliate even further when it comes to the live show, the heavier moments being even heavier, and I just imagine that live show just being such a great experience.
So hopefully we will make it to the US sometime. So we really would love to do it. It's pretty difficult at the moment because of the visa thing, and it's very expensive to come over. But if we get the chance, we definitely want to do it, because it's one of the most important countries when it comes to music, and there's a lot of influence, and this would be a great thing. But for now, we have to take care of Europe first and spread the word.
Yeah, and of course that's the most important thing. I mean, obviously being in Europe and being able to develop that fan base for as long as you guys have, I mean, making sure that that's covered, and then through the rest of the world once those opportunities come around. I mean, hopefully that does happen with this album where you guys are able to expand upon further, but even if not, those shows that are going to be happening throughout the rest of the year, being able to promote this album, I just imagine that they're going to be fantastic shows.
I hope so, and the good thing on the internet, like, it's a good and bad things, but the good thing definitely is it's very international, also with Spotify now and YouTube. It's much more easy for a German band to spread the word, and now we're talking to a journalist from the United States, and that's something special for us. And it wasn't the same like maybe 10 years ago. It was much more difficult, and now the song circulates so much quicker, like the new video. I think it has a lot of plays already, and that's also it's only because of the internet, because the people are checking it out wherever they are, and so that's very interesting for a band, and it feels really good.
Yeah, and I do believe I mentioned this the last time that we did an interview. I did have a friend of mine that showed me Avoid the Light, and I just instantly fell in love from what I heard from there. And And it did come from the internet. Had I not had the access to be able to check out all these different bands, whether it be from YouTube or from other means on the internet, being able to check all these things out, I would not have been able to discover some of my favorite bands and get into this point where I'm able to promote these bands that I truly care about, and including this situation. I mean, the fact that I've been able to talk to you twice after discovering you guys and helping out as much as I can on the American side, being able to promote one of my favorite bands, it's such a great feeling.
Yeah, and I discover shitloads of bands through Spotify, for example. So it's a great tool to work with, and people should just learn again to discover new music and find new music and appreciate new music. And I think that's definitely a benefit of Spotify, because in the last year it was, or in the last years before that, I think I had the feeling it was pretty difficult because it was a lot coming out and nobody really cared, and you didn't have the channels. It was only those illegal download thing, like a Napster thing, and now it's legal, it's accessible, everybody's able to find new music and appreciate and share it with their friends, and I think that's a good thing, actually.
Oh, I definitely do as well. I mean, thankfully I'm in this position right now where I'm able to, again, promote the bands that I care about and get these promos well in advance before there's any leaking or it goes onto Spotify or YouTube or whatever the case is. But when they do eventually get to those moments where anyone can check them out, and of course with Boundless coming out next week through InsideOut, I mean, there's so many different ways to be able to check it out, whether you're buying the physical form or checking it out on Spotify or any YouTube streams that happen. I mean, there's so many ways to be able to check out music that you didn't even know that was possible 10, 15 years ago. And there's really no excuse if there's a certain style of music that you want to find or you want to see if it's out there. I mean, it's just at the touch of a keyboard to be able to check out all this great music.
Exactly. And when you get recommendation notifications or emails or a newsletter, it's just a great thing. And I'm always happy when I forgot about a release, because there's so much coming out, and then you wake up on the morning and you get a notification and the album is out, and you got it on your phone and you can just listen to it and you can carry it around with you wherever you are. I think that's a really, really good thing. And if those people who use this media still buy some records, or they have the official account, which is really not expensive, then that's a good thing for all the bands, I think. So it is the future, and we have to embrace it and appreciate it. And I think streaming is a good thing to check out bands, but people should still buy the album then if they really like it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And again, getting back to my situation where I am fortunate enough to receive the promos to be able to check them out well in advance. When it's a band I truly do care about, I make sure to go out the day of, or at least the week of, and be able to purchase those albums, because I want to see those numbers go up in sale. And that's exactly what's going to be happening next week. I definitely want to be able to pick up the album and make sure that those first week number charts are skyrocketing for you guys, because you guys absolutely deserve it with this one. And I just hope that it does go as high as I imagine it does, if not better.
Thank you very much. So the press here in Germany, it's just crazy. So we have several album of the month stuff in the magazines, and it's just getting a great feedback also from the fans, which is the most important, of course. So yeah, it feels good, and we can't wait to finally. So, and we're gonna play, I think, 5 songs from the album. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, and that's so cool to see. And again, thank you so very much for taking all this time to be able to talk to me about everything that's going on in the world of long distance calling. And of course, talking about the brand new album Boundless, which is coming out next Friday through InsideOut Music. It's easily one of my favorite long distance calling albums to date. Being able to really divulge and really get into this album over the last few weeks and just knowing everything that's about it. I just love where you guys are at right now, and the fact that you guys are getting into all these great shows shows and festivals and all these great positive receptions that you guys are getting from around the world. If there's one band that I can think of that truly deserves it with the experimentation that you guys have, it's definitely you guys, and I just can't wait to see where you guys go. If this is what you're doing right now after everything you've done so far, I just imagine it's just going to get better from here on out.
Thank you very much. So I'm really looking forward to Wacken. For example, we never played a Wacken festival before. It's the biggest metal festival in the world, I guess. And so it's going to be interesting to see. So thank you very much, Josh. It was great talking to you.
You as well. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
No, I'll just check out the album, even though it's instrumental. You should listen to it. There's a lot of good melodies on it and interesting songwriting, a lot of emotion. Just check it out. It's called Boundless and will be out February 2nd.